Save time with Notion database layouts. Have you ever opened a Notion database item just for a quick note and then scroll a canyon of properties just to set one? By the end of this video, this grind is gone. You will leave with a clean header for essential properties, a tidy side panel for the rest, and zero wasted scroll. All from a repeatable layout system anyone can copy. I got there the hard way, designing, nuking and rebuilding my layouts properties by property until I was finally satisfied. So you don't have to. For me, switching to this layout system was the moment Notion database pages stopped feeling like a clutter of properties and rather a organized space for properties to handle. So to show you how you can apply this to your database, here's the outline for this video. I will break down this video in 5 different chapters and also make sure to stick to the end, because there I will show you a cool thing that I like to do that saves me a lot of headaches. And for those who don't know me, my name is Leon and I'm excited to guide you through this. Let's get started. Now, before we build it on our own, let me show you what this looks like. As you can see, we have pinned properties over here and the rest of the properties is in this side panel. You can access this side panel either by clicking on these 3 dots, or as I just did, you can click this View Details button over here. This feature is available for database pages. So first, they need to be a database, and when you have a database, you can access this layout builder. And to tell you, this feature is available on every plan, so also the free plan. And now let's not waste more time and rebuild this, and let's get started with chapter 1. As you can see here on the right, we have this clutter of properties. So here nothing is organized and I haven't done anything of this new layout builder feature. Now let's hover over the title completely to the right side, and here you have this right button which says Customize Layout. And when you click this, you will be guided over to this menu, and this is the layout builder. If you ever open this layout builder with a page that maybe has not that much filled out, you can just switch the pages over here. For example, I can switch from paint the back wall to build the new chair or set up the lighting. So there is no need for quitting this, changing the page and then reopen it. You can just, under the name of the current page, change this to another page you want. Now the first thing, as you can see, when I click on property group, the gray menu is different to when I click on the heading or when I click in this empty space. We will start with the heading, and down here you can toggle the property labels. You can either toggle it off or on. And for the backlinks that are here, you can say show on hover, always show, or turn them off. I like to keep it on show on hover and activate the property labels. Then let's click in this empty space, and here you can either keep it simple or activate the tabbed structure. This is for when you have relations, for example here, to a notes database. And in this task database, you normally have a notes database view down here. You can also pull this here in its own tab. As well as down here, you can set inline comments to default or minimal. You can set the page discussions to either expanded or completely off. You can either hide the property icons or show them. And you can put this layout builder to full width or this normal way. I like to keep it in this way because I can see everything. So my settings are, I like to go for the tabbed way. I like to have the inline comments minimal, page discussions off. I like to keep the property icons. And as I said, I like to deactivate full width. So there is one variation of this settings left, and this is when I click in the property group, and here you can see all the properties that are also listed here, but more to that later. And as the last point for this section, If you made some changes, you can either here apply it to all pages. There is only the option to apply it to every page in the database or to no page in the database. And if you now decide to you don't want to change something, you can also click on the arrow here and click reset to original page layout. So you don't have to build it back, you can just reset it. And that's it for chapter number 1. Let's move on to chapter number 2. Now, here in chapter 2, I want to talk about the property group. This group is called this way because in this group, we have all the properties for this database page. And every property can only show up in one section, not more. So a property cannot be in the property group as well as in the heading. That's not possible. Now, the first step I want to do is we can move this property group over to the side panel. So we only have the heading here, then the tabs, and then the body of the page. So let's click on the 3 dots and move this over to the panel. So now if I would apply this to all pages, you can see all the properties disappeared and they are now in the side panel. So now let's reopen the layout builder and move on. So what we can do in this property group is we can create sections for a better overview. And I will create this now and then I will tell you more. So now I created 3 sections. The first one is background, the second one is completion, and the third one is other properties. And what I can do now is I can either drag the sections, so I could drag background to under completion and other properties, and I can also move properties. I could, for example, put conclusion formula in the background section. So I have completion for properties like the completion date. This will go in here, for example. I have other properties that are not in completion and background, and background are literally properties that are formulas and are only for something in the back, so not display formulas where you can see something that is processed, or formulas that you can't manipulate, like the created time or created by. And this is, for example, something this won't appear here in a second, but more to that later. And one more thing, as you can see here on the right, for every property you have this eye, and you can always show a property. You can hide a property if it's empty. For example, if I have no assignee for this task, the property will be hidden, and I can always hide a property. But in my opinion, that is something that you used to do when you had this big property list over here to make it a bit shorter. But once we have these called sections, you can when we quit this layout builder, you can toggle them. There is no need for hiding properties, so I would always go with always show for every property. And now I dragged every property into the right section, and now for now this will look like this, but we will make a few more changes in the next chapters. Now that's it for this chapter. Let's move over to chapter number 3. Now in chapter number 3, we want to talk about own groups / sections for properties. Because what we can do is when you right click a property, you can say add to layout, and then this property will be taken from the property group under the heading and the tabs as an own section. And this is especially great for long properties that either are a formula property and have a long text, or for properties that are special or have a long name. But more to that conclusion formula property at the end of the video. And now if you want to reverse this, you can click on the 3 dots, and then you can either say move to panel, you can say move to page, so you can move this over. You can say add to the property group, and then you can move this over back into the property group, and here you can select your sections like other properties, completion, or background. And there is also another way. You can say remove from layout, and here you have two options, and that's important. You have remove from layout, so the property will still be visible in the database views and the page's property group. So that's another way to move the conclusion formula property back into the property group. And the other option under here is that you remove this conclusion formula property from the page, but along with the property. So you will not only delete this own section, you will also delete the property conclusion formula. So if you want to be safe, because there is another option, I would completely stay away from this. I would go with add to the property group, but let me show you what this looks like just for showcasing it. So I will say remove from layout, and if I click remove, it will show up down here. And if I right click it and say add to layout, it will reappear. What you can also do, as I showed you, you can move it over to the panel, and then you can also, with these three dots, but you can grab this anywhere you want, you can move this over and switch positions. This is especially good for the files and media, the number and the person property. So let me show you this. Let's move this to the page. Let's put this to the layout and move it over to the panel, and let's drag it up. And here we can also adjust the style, so we can move it over, so we can change it from compact to large. And that's it for chapter number 3. Let's move on to chapter number 4. In chapter 4, I want to talk with you about the heading, so the pinned section. In this section on top of here, you can pin up to 4 properties. And in my opinion, and what other people say, that's either the most relevant properties that you always want to see, or the properties that are the most used for saving time. Like for example, a status that you frequently check for a project database or whatever. For this database, I want to pin 4 properties, and the way you do it is you click in this heading section, and then you have pinned properties and unpinned properties. And first I want to go with the status. You can click on this pin icon, and you can see the status appears over here and disappears from the property group. And then we have the priority, the due date, so when we want to do this task, and the due date to when it's due, so I need to do it. And as you can see, we have unpinned properties here, and it's grayed out because we can only pin 4, and here we have 4, and we can also change the order of them here, but this is the order I prefer. And that's it for chapter number 4. Let's move on to chapter number 5. In chapter number 5, I want to talk about a very special section that you haven't seen in this video before, and that's the relation section. Because for all the relation properties, there can be created a separate section. So the way you can do this is click in the property group, then right click, add to layout. Also do this for project, right click, add to layout, and then it doesn't matter which property of the relation properties, you can click on the 3 dots, and then you can say advanced, convert to relations group. And that's only possible when you don't have a relations group, because you can only create one relations group, or you keep the relations in their own sections. And then you can say convert to relations group. So now this is the relations group. You can also drag them here if you want. And here you can say, I want to have the notes as a page section or as minimal. That's the way I prefer to have them. And for the other relations, you can say, you can click on the 3 dots, click on advanced, and then you can select add to relations groups. So now we have notes and projects, notes in minimal and project as a page section. Then I can change the order, for example, and say I want to have notes at the top, and then I can say projects and also show it as minimal. And now this looks way better in my opinion. And now let's talk about this special property. This property is a conclusion formula and operates for me, and where I implemented it, I will implement it in all my templates over time. It operates as a safety net. I use it, for example, in my finance tracker template, and it gives me a long formula that tells me what isn't correct with this page that I'm currently in. And the formula is very long, so for me it makes sense to have this as its own section. And because I always look at this formula for every page I open, it also makes sense to directly see it. Because what this formula is doing is, because for every page I, for example, want to have an area of life set. So for example, the private area of life, so for my private life. And here in this formula, for example, I can check if there is an area of life selected or if this is empty. And if it's empty, there will be a text that says no area of life selected. And let's say this formula only operates for one property. In my other templates, it checks different, so multiple properties at once. And if there is an area of life selected, it will say everything is correct with this page. And this is like a safety net, and I really like this, and I will implement this in more templates over time. And yeah, for me, it deserves its own section. And now, if you want, you can also check out this video. Stay consistent.